Hey Waffle Crew, I hope you're all doing great. I'm Mark, and today we're diving into more Reddit tales. If you enjoy these Reddit stories, consider giving a like, subscribing, and maybe ringing that notification bell. Let's jump into our first story. Sending lots of love, folks. Our opening tale comes from a throwaway account stating, "My 27FX partner's 28M new girlfriend, 24F, is acting like a stepmom to my daughter, 4F." The poster uses a throwaway due to mutual friends on Reddit and apologizes for the length. My ex, let's call him Jake, and I were together for 3 years, from spring 2014 to late winter 2017. Since my daughter is clearly older than 3, it's obvious she's not Jake's biologically. Her birth father wanted no part in her life and relinquished all rights at her birth, so he's completely out of the picture. Jake and I started as friends, and our bond grew into a relationship when my daughter was about 1. As she got older, she viewed Jake as a father figure, a role he embraced wholeheartedly. She formed a strong connection with him, closer than with anyone outside her immediate family. Our relationship ended due to differing life goals. Jake wanted to buy a home together. We had lived together for the last year of our relationship, but kept separate places, and relocate to another city for his career, while I was content where I was. This created an unspoken ultimatum, and though Jake didn't move, our romance fizzled out. We remained friends, and Jake transitioned from a father figure to cool Uncle Jake for my daughter. We've both worked to keep things stable for her, and she seems well adjusted. Like with other friends, my daughter and I occasionally visit Jake, and sometimes he watches her for a couple of hours if I need to run errands. I have zero concerns about Jake with my daughter. She's always beaming and begging for 5 more minutes when I return. About 6 months ago, Jake began dating Tara, a co-worker I met while we were together. Their relationship isn't the problem, but some recent incidents have raised red flags. The first happened when Jake invited my daughter and me for a playdate with his nephew, whom he was watching. Tara was there, which I expected. When Jake greeted my daughter with a hug, Tara remarked that she looked like her dad, meaning Jake. Both Jake and I clarified that my daughter isn't his, something Jake later confirmed he'd already told Tara. She brushed it off, saying she meant their strong father-daughter bond, which I found strange but let slide. There have been other moments when I've run into Tara, either casually or at planned gatherings, where she's mentioned how much my daughter enjoys Jake's company, something I'm well aware of. I chalked it up to awkward small talk between exes. The reason for this post, though, is an incident from a few days ago. Jake was babysitting his nephew again, and I invited myself and my daughter to join them at a park for the afternoon. Everything was fine until I got a work call about an urgent office issue because colleagues X, Y, and Z weren't answering. I mentioned this, and Jake and Tara offered to watch my daughter at the park while I dashed to the office, a quick 5-minute drive to resolve it. I was gone for roughly 30 minutes. The emergency was, as usual, overblown, and when I returned, everyone was still at the park, happy as can be. As we prepared to leave, Tara mentioned that a friend of hers, an amateur photographer, was at the park taking landscape photos and snapped a few shots of our group, including my daughter. She sent me the pictures, calling them adorable. I was uneasy about a stranger photographing my child, but tried to see it as a kind gesture. Later, Tara sent me solo photos of my daughter, saying she hadn't given her friend permission to post them on a professional page, though shots of the scenery and Jake's nephew were already up. She asked if I'd consent to my daughter's photos being posted. They were cute, so I checked the photographer's page to see the other images from that day. There were charming candid shots of Jake's nephew and sweet couple photos of Jake and Tara, but the final image was a family-style portrait of everyone, including my daughter. The caption read something like, "The Jake's surname Tara's surname crew knows how to have a blast." I immediately messaged the page, demanding the photo's removal since it featured my daughter without my permission. The photographer apologized, explaining that Tara had claimed the girl was Jake's daughter and that Jake had given consent. I messaged Jake, asking him to stop giving permission for anything involving my daughter and to remind Tara he's not her father. Jake responded, denying he'd given consent for any group photos and was upset by the accusation. I later messaged Tara, firmly stating I didn't want my daughter involved in situations that misrepresented the facts, emphasizing Jake isn't her dad. She didn't reply. I'm at a loss. I don't want to be the ex who forces Jake to sneak around Tara to see my daughter, but he hasn't done enough to stop Tara from pretending my daughter is his, and by extension, hers. Cutting them both out would confuse my daughter, though she's resilient. It would hurt Jake too, but my daughters and my feelings come first. It's frustrating that we navigated our breakup smoothly, yet this unrelated issue might end things. Should I move on without Jake and Tara in our lives? Am I overreacting and becoming that ex? Maybe I've read too many Reddit stories and am seeing red flags where there aren't any, like the photographer coincidentally being at the park when I was gone. But I'm wondering how this will play out as everyone moves forward, especially as Jake and I build separate lives. How will this dynamic work long term? I'm sure others have similar setups, but it feels awkward now. One commenter said, "This is straightforward. Don't leave your kid alone with people who act like she's theirs. Let her visit, but only with you present. If they ask to watch her alone, say no. If they press for a reason, be honest." Another user noted, "It's confusing. OP seems to want Jake as a stand-in dad, but doesn't let him make decisions. It's odd. I'd cut them both off to avoid more confusion." Another added, "This will only get messier as your daughter grows, especially if you get a new partner. Cut them off and move on. She's young and will adapt without them." User Strawberry Glow said, "Jake keeping someone like Tara around speaks to his judgment and how reliable he'll be as a role model in 5, 10, or 15 years. His partner's influence on your daughter could grow as she nears puberty and looks up to women she admires. Even an hour or two matters. Kids in single-parent homes are impressionable." 3 days later, the OP updated their post. I got more feedback than expected. While opinions varied, most suggested Jake was too involved in my daughter's life. I reflected on why I'd allowed this. To clarify, I didn't push Jake into this role. He wanted to stay in her life since he'd been there for years. Comments about what happens when Jake marries or has kids made me think. This setup was convenient, especially since our breakup stemmed from Jake wanting to relocate and me not wanting to. I never intended to control Jake's choices or expect him to prioritize us over his life. To clear up confusion from my post, Jake is just a friend now, and has been for a year. I don't use him for parenting tasks. He's not a babysitter or daycare. He sees her maybe once every 6 weeks, and since our breakup, he's been alone with her maybe 3 times. He asks to see her. I don't force him to make time. This isn't about wanting him back romantically. Our time together was great. But we're done, and he feels the same. Update. After reading comments and reflecting, I messaged both Jake and Tara the day after my post, apologizing for my heated reaction and accusations. Jake replied, saying it was no big deal and he'd have been upset too. Tara's response was odd. She just said, "I know he's her dad." I clarified again that Jake isn't my daughter's father and apologized if my friendship with Jake bothered her. She suggested we meet to talk, and I agreed. Over coffee, she admitted she'd been distant, but not because of my bond with Jake. She revealed she learned she's infertile last year. Though Jake knows and supports her, seeing him with my daughter, whom he helped raise, stirred emotions, leading to her dad comments. She confessed the photographer situation was planned. She asked her friend, who lives near the park, to take photos of her, Jake, and the kids once I left. She told Jake the same story she told me, about the friend being there for portfolio shots, but privately told the photographer I was okay with it and that Jake was my daughter's dad, so a parent was present. She suggested the family portrait and told her friend to post it, but to check with me about my daughter's solo shots. She assumed I wouldn't see the group photo and said having a picture of her, Jake, a boy, and a girl helped her cope with her infertility news. Tara added that since Jake is the only father my daughter knows, she feels like the closest thing to a mom she'll have with him. I was stunned. After reading comments calling me jealous or saying Tara was innocent, I was shocked my suspicions were partly right, though I didn't expect this reasoning. I thanked her for being open and asked if she was talking to anyone about her feelings. She said no, but knew she should. She also said Jake only knew she was occasionally down, not the full extent. We looked up local mental health resources together and she promised to book an appointment and talk to Jake. Later, I told Jake we needed distance between him and my daughter for everyone's sake. He agreed and said he'd always be there for her if needed. That evening, I asked my daughter how she sees Jake, and she said Jake's nephew's uncle, so she's not overly attached, which is reassuring. I'm not sure if this is the end, and some may criticize me for not cutting Jake out completely or for reducing contact, but I think this benefits everyone, including Tara, long term. Thanks for the advice. User Wanderlust Bug commented, "Everyone handled this maturely, and communication tied up loose ends. Props to OP for being a mature adult. Rare these days." User Raven said, I wouldn't call Tara's actions super mature, but kudos for eventually opening up. That's growth. Another user added, Tara's orchestration of the photo session and posting it online is unsettling. Hyphenated names already? Bold move. I hope she lets go of seeing your daughter as hers through Jake and gets help. Keep your distance. Her actions give off creepy vibes. What do you all think of this situation? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Now, let's move to another story. Our next tale is from the Petty Revenge subreddit, posted by user SunnyHills23, titled Petty Fence Payback. First post here, hope it's petty enough. A bit long, written on mobile. After years in condos, I bought my first fixer-upper house with a spacious backyard. I have a dog, so I wanted a fence to let her roam without worrying about her becoming a snack for the alligators in the canal out back. Crazy to think some folks have gators right by their yards. I got a survey done and hired a fence company for a PVC privacy fence in front with locking gates, connecting to neighbors' fences on both sides, and PVC chain link in the back. Sharing fence lines is common here. The company installed the fence to code, setting the privacy section 5 feet back from my house's front. When I went to check on the project before I could even get out of my car, my neighbor to the right, let's call her Karen, was tapping on my window. She was upset because my privacy fence blocked her side gate near her pool. I wasn't living in the house yet due to renovations and didn't even know about her gate. Karen threatened to report me to the city. I was taken aback, but wanted to be neighborly. I set up a meeting with my general contractor, the fence company, and Karen. She didn't show, sending her husband, Rick, instead. Rick insisted they should still use their side gate, even after we explained my fence was built to code and it's a liability for their pool and lawn crew to cross my property. I offered to split the cost of moving their gate to the front of their house. Rick refused, demanding I cover the full cost of a new gate and landscaping. I'm trying to be reasonable, but not that reasonable. We passed our final fence inspection, and the city inspector noted their back fence is too close to the canal, taking photos, so they might face issues. Today, for my petty revenge, I locked my side gate and plan to plant shrubs in front of their gate. I'm curious if the city will make them relocate their back fence. Edit. To answer some questions, I've consulted my lawyer about next steps, and we'll see how they react to the locked gate. She's confident they can't claim access rights based on past use. I'm also installing a video doorbell and outdoor cameras. A commenter said, "So their gate opens directly onto your property? That's wild." OP replied, "Yep, and their fence is half an inch over my line. I felt gaslit because they were so insistent it was fine to use my land. I don't get people like this. OP's a decent neighbor, offering a fair compromise and even willing to chip in despite no obligation. And they still sabotage themselves. I have little sympathy for folks like that. What do you think of this one? Share your thoughts below, and let's move to another story. Our final tale, also from Petty Revenge, is by user Nurse Vibes, titled, From 5 Stars to Handcuffs, I Got My Sister Arrested. She's technically my half-sister, but here's the deal. I've been trying to get a restraining order against my mom, her husband, and my half-sister. I had solid evidence, but the judge disagreed and denied it. Before leaving the courtroom, my lawyer made a statement for the record. I have the authority to have them arrested if they show up on my property. I confirmed I understood, looked at them, and said, if you come to my place, I won't ask you to leave. I'll call the cops, you'll be arrested, and I'll press full charges for trespassing. A bit about my sister. She's spoiled. Our parents poured all their money and attention into her, and now it's backfiring. Check my post history for more on my family, but in short, we grew up wealthy. She was the golden child, got everything, while I built my own life. I'm preparing to move and was packing when she showed up yesterday. I did exactly as I warned. I didn't ask or warn her. I called 911 and explained the situation. The police arrived, and she claimed she was my sister and just wanted to talk. I told her and the cops she had no business being there, demanded her arrest, and said I was pressing charges. They arrested her. I feel nothing. My hatred for her is intense. She's treated me worse than dirt my whole life and thrives on it. I'm fully justified. They knew the consequences of showing up. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Kudos to OP for sticking to their boundaries. They knew what would happen, and OP followed through by calling the police. It's tough for some to involve authorities with family, but it was the right call here. What do you think of this? Have you ever struggled with reporting family or something similar? Share your thoughts below. A huge thanks for joining me today, engaging with these stories, and showing your love and support. Your time means everything to me. I hope to see you in the next one. Take care and much love.